All right, welcome back to Beyond Mortgage, everyone. I'm Dan Trinidad, and I am super excited to be talking to Alex Jimenez today. Alex is a branch manager of the Veterans Homefront by Benchmark Mortgage, a team that focuses on helping veterans and first responders realize their dream of home ownership. He's based in Tennessee as a certified military boot camp instructor for the state, ensuring that veterans are getting nothing but the best level of service when it comes to utilizing their VA benefits. He's been in the industry since 2006, father of three. He's a car enthusiast, and he actually has his own podcast as well called AJ Nashville Podcast. I said that right?
Yes, sir.
Where he features stories of success and overcoming hardships. So welcome, Alex.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We've tried to get this on the books for quite some time now, and our schedules have been nuts. But so first of all, the most important question I have is, how are you and how are your family?
They're good. You know, we're good health wise. I know you saw earlier in the week that I posted some things where we're able to spend a little more time with each other. Business overall is good. You know, we're not seeing anything slow down. We are seeing the purchase market slow down just a little bit, but it's still carrying forward. So overall, I'd say things are great.
Good, healthy. That's the most important thing. So tell me about your journey a little bit and how you ended up in the mortgage business and how you ended up specializing with helping veterans.
Yeah. So how I ended up in the mortgage industry, that's kind of funny. So I started off, I was a sales and marketing manager for a development company that was building apartment complexes. At the time, I was at a specific property located in West Des Moines, Iowa, and had a lot of success, you know, building relationships with people, getting people. I mean, when we had people come in and lease, they would lease from me specifically because I made them feel like they were at home. It wasn't a sales pitch, you know, kind of the same that we do in our industry now. Progressing forward, I got offered an opportunity down here in Tennessee. Big jump for a guy that lives in Iowa, but moved to Tennessee, and the company wanted me to jump around to different properties, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted a place that I could root in and call home. So I was offered a account executive position from a friend of mine who was opening up a branch of a company called People's Choice Home Loans. Old school subprime people, I'm sure, remember that company.
I do.
It was based out of Irvine, California. Great company to work for at the time, but I came in and, you know, I sold my first $1 million in the first month, and I had no idea what CLTV, LTV, DTI, you know, I didn't know what any of those terms meant. Literally, I'd stand there and I'd listen to people talk, and it would just go over my head. But you know, there was a passion there. And so we continue to push forward even through the crash and everything else. I mean, here I am. So,
wow. Not a lot of people made it through. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So then how did you end up, you know, where you're at today?
I would attribute that to a lot of people took a lot of chances. You know, at the end of the day, did I perform? I did, but I didn't perform at a level that I would, look at and say, man, you really did a good job back then. I think people saw something in me, and when it was time for me to deliver, that's what I did. You know, I've always had this attitude that no matter what it is, we're going to push, we're going to overcome, and we're going to continue to strive forward. And so the first company that took a chance on me was Hancock Mortgage Partners. Mr. Johnny Fowler, I'm sure you're familiar with the name, offered me a branch manager position and really allowed me to spread my wings open and fly. And then, you know, carrying forward, like some people do, I saw my path in a different direction. And so I chose to link up with Benchmark Mortgage, the team here. They specialize in VA home loans, and that's kind of the direction I wanted to go. I'm part of a team that is kind of an elite team within a much larger cell that focuses on serving our veterans and helping our vets. And that was the direction I wanted to go. And you know, the one big thing that Andrew Paul, my current team leader, told me that really stuck with me. He said, you know, when you stop your production, when you slow down, you are impacting other veterans. You're allowing other veterans to take a risk with a company that may not treat them as well or take care of them as good as you are. So by doing that, you're actually hurting more veterans than you're helping. And that was impactful to me. That was one of those things, you know, because I had a comfort number. I think we get in a position in our careers where we hit a number and we're like, you know what, this number feels good. But whether it's $1 million, $5 million, whatever the number is, you hit a number and you're like, all right, I can live with this. And I had hit that number prior to coming to Benchmark. And then I realized that that number, it wasn't about the number itself. It was about the total family served. And so naturally the momentum carried. If you want to serve 15 families, your number is going to go up, you know, no matter where you are in the country. If you want to serve 20, it continues to rise. So, you know, I got to the point where I was just, I want to help as many people as I can. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, your why is very clear. Where, you know, when I'm talking to, you know, our loan officers, trying to get them to discover their why is, you know, basically task number one, but it's the most challenging, and
Right.
yours seems to be really clear. Um, what I find cool, you know, as I've been following you, is that, you know, you're a young guy, yet um, you're really focused, man, on the right stuff.
Hmm.
And it's rare that you see um, younger people that have realized by your age that, you know, what is most important in your life, and you seem to have that clarity, like we started to talk about. I mean, your messages on social media have been, you know, spot on, and I think it's, you know, so relevant to how we need to be today, in the current environment we're in. But maybe you could speak to, you know, how you're adjusting and adapting to working at home. I'm assuming you don't always work out of your home. You probably have an office to go to.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe you could share, you know, how you're doing it and what's working and where you're struggling, and you know, some things that you've learned.
Yeah. So I actually am working from my office. So the cool thing is my office is 4 miles from my house. It's myself and it's my production partner. The rest of my team are satellite. So I
Oh,
don't need to have a big support staff here, and I don't have other loan officers, which makes it really easy. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, in today's day and age, it's really easy to get off track. It's easy to turn on the news and just get absorbed in everything negative going on in the world. And this kind of goes back to the message that you say that I push on social media. You know, the biggest thing is there's so much negativity around us. We can sit here, and if you want to hear something negative, I bet you $100 you can turn on the TV, and within 2 minutes you'll hear something negative.
no
Um,
question.
but we need to strive forward. We need to be the foundation and the rock for those people who are currently struggling. I mean, we're in a very fortunate career that we're able to continue forward. We're not laid off. You know, we're not looking for work. We're well compensated. We're able to help families. And most of all, we're able to support our own family. You know, so my thing is focus on the positive. There's so much negativity in the world, and people thrive off of that. I want to be the person that pushes out the positive message. This way, when the dust clears, they look up and say, well, who helped us, you know, guide towards the light, as opposed to, you know, who helped keep us down. Because the fact of the matter is, there's people, regardless if it's our children, our friends, family, whoever it is, there's people that look up to each and every one of us. And we can either be the lighthouse for them, or we could be, you know, the dark tunnel that they don't really want to go down, but we're dragging them along anyways.
Man, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I feel the exact same way. In fact, we don't even have the TV on at our house just for that reason. It's nothing but negativity. I mean, we
Right.
got some time to catch up on some Netflix stuff, but for the most part, we stay away from the news. The news finds us. You
Yeah.
know, occasionally I'll go online and look at reports of, you know, if this thing's going in what direction and things like
Right.
that. But I agree, positivity is needed. I mean, and quite frankly, it's impossible to be a happy person
Hmm.
when you allow all this negativity to, you know, enter your body, right?
Right.
It's I mean, my mom and dad are 83 years old, and, you know, my top priority is making sure they stay home and stay safe during this time. But they had the news on, and they're when I talk to my folks every day,
Hmm.
they're telling me all of this just horrendous stuff that is extremely sad, and but
Right.
I don't see any value in them needing to know some of this. It's just, you know, scaring the heck out of them, quite frankly. But uh
Exactly.
Have you through this, have you created any new disciplines, new habits?
That's a really good question. So disciplines and habits for me from a business standpoint, I feel, at least where I'm at now, business wise, that I have the business portion locked down. The new disciplines and habits that I've created have been spending some quality time with the family, being able to put my phone down, being able to say, you know what, it's Sunday. I'm not going to take that call. I'm not going to answer that text message. I think far too often we treat ourselves as if the consumer is the commodity as opposed to us, or maybe the real estate agent's the commodity as opposed to us. And so we neglect those aspects of our lives, or at least I did. And so, yeah, I mean, the habits I've now found is that I can sit down and play 5 games of Uno with my 5-year-old daughter, or I can go on a walk with her and my son around the neighborhood, or something like that. That was the discipline I've always searched for, or that I have been recently searching for, that coaching and training programs and stuff that you try to buy to compensate for that can't. So yeah, I mean, business wise, it's same as it's always been.
Usual.
Yep. Get up, come to the office, fire down on some work, take a breather. I have a stand-up desk, so I'll stand up for a little while, sit back down, get back to work, and just don't get distracted with all the other things going on.
Yeah. So what time do you get home?
I try to leave the office at 6:00.
Okay. And you got kids home waiting for you?
I do. And it's great. I've got this picture and I've been meaning to share it. When I leave, my kids, I have a front office it's actually my son's bedroom currently, to keep him on the ground floor. But both the kids will get up in the front window and pound on the window until I wave as I'm driving away. Well, then when I come home, no matter how quietly I try to sneak in, 2 kids come running around the corner and they're excited. The other child in our house is 17. He doesn't do that anymore, but they're excited to see me home. And so, yeah, I make it a point, cut everything off at 6. I do still respond to emails and stuff, but when it's time for me to sit down and play that game of Uno with my daughter or something like that, I have to push the phone aside.
No, are you married?
I'm engaged.
Okay. You're going to soon learn. I'm married, and my wife is a loan officer.
Yeah.
So one of our challenges is she's got customers calling her and apps to take at 8:00 at night, and so I can speak from the other side, saying, man, put down your phone and spend time with the people that are important to you, for sure.
Yeah.
That phone is a crazy. It's just, and even more so now, I feel like when we're stuck at home, at least we are here in California. I think you are as well.
Yeah.
We tend to be on our mobile devices a lot more, checking out social media and emailing, and so it's just a bad habit. I think one of the things I'm most proud of, although it was a huge challenge when I was growing my company, 20 years ago, when I was at work, I'd be thinking about the kids. And when I was with the kids, I'd be thinking about work. So I never really mastered being present.
Right.
And that's kind of what I teach right now. These, a lot of people that have multiple responsibilities in their life, is just to try. And it sounds like you are just being present. I'm proud that I never missed any ball games with my kids or any school events. I made sure that I was at every single one of them.
Right.
But I was thinking about work.
Yeah.
And so for whatever that's worth. So what time are you getting much sleep?
No. And that's mostly due to my son. My son's 3 years old and he doesn't sleep. He wakes up, and it doesn't matter what time it is. When he's ready to go, he's full throttle. He'll come in the room. The first thing he says is, "Dad, I want milk." And it's not like dad, he's not silently waking you up. He's in your face and he's like, "Dad, get me milk." And I'm just like, oh. So, that helps with the discipline. I don't even need an alarm clock. I've got a 3-year-old.
And what time is that usually?
It varies. So, sometimes he'll sleep through the night. Sometimes he'll get up at 1:00 in the morning, sometimes 3. He just likes to make sure that, hey, when it's time to wake dad up, he's up. So, and sometimes I'll lay down with him and I'll go back to sleep. And sometimes I'll say, you know what, it's X time. It's time to go. It's time to get after it and start working, you know? So it varies, but yeah, sleep, I don't plan on being able to get sleep for another 20 years.
Yeah, it's probably wise. And
Yeah.
then the kids get to a certain age where you still don't sleep because now you're worried about all the things that
Right.
they're potentially out doing. So
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
uh,
That's why I gave myself 20 years.
that's funny. So for new loan officers starting out,
Mhm.
um, what few tips would you give to them to get started in the right direction? Things that you've learned, maybe where you've wasted some time, and that you do things maybe a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But what kind of advice would you give?
So a couple things when you bring that up, right off the top of my head. One of the big things is don't engage in water cooler talk. And a lot of people say, well, what's water cooler talk? That's the negativity that you usually hear around, you know, the cafeteria of the company or downstairs where everyone's smoking cigarettes or wherever it may be. And that's where people gather to complain about the things they dislike. And that's something you typically see. And you mentioned new loan officers. So you're talking about mostly places that are willing to train people. You know, you just keep your head down and focus on yourself, focus on the positive things, because once again, negativity, you can find that anywhere. There's no sense in going to work and focusing on
Yeah,
things that you can't control or things that you can't change or things that don't impact you. Guess what? If Bob down the street can no longer do a 660 credit score FHA program and he's upset, I don't have time to listen to him because I can still do those programs. And even if I couldn't, guess what? That opens up a whole new realm of business, you know? And I'm sure you remember this back prior to the crash, our minimum credit score was non-existent. You know, we were
right.
560 credit score, stated income, stated
Doesn't
assets, ready to
matter.
roll. Right. But things adapted and things changed. And what did we do? We adapted and we changed. So focus on the things you can control. One of the biggest things is discipline. Sit down and say, what am I doing with my day? What do I need to be doing with my day? And start blocking out a schedule. When you get up in the morning and you go into the office, you know, maybe you spend the first 20 minutes catching up on emails, and then maybe the next hour is spent on prospecting, and then the next, you know, whatever it is that you break it up and commit to it. Because the one thing I know, and I could say this from experience, there's a lot of time wasted doing nothing. Like we're in
Yeah.
such a great career that we can do whatever we want. And a lot of times we do nothing, you know? And then we sit there, and when paychecks, you know, back in the day when I started, paychecks were handed out. It was like, here's your check, here's your check. So back in the day when that paycheck was handed out to everyone and you didn't get one, it was why? Well, because you didn't work, because you worked 15 hours of a 40-hour work week. That's why you didn't get a paycheck. If you want to run with the top producers, you have to act like one. And just because you're new to the industry doesn't mean you can't be one. I know plenty that Andrew Cady, for example, that guy's crushing it, you know, $5-6 million months. And he's been in the industry for like 2 years. So what's everyone else's excuse? I've been doing this 16 years, you know.
Right.
Just get in there and commit, get after it, and push forward, and don't listen to negativity.
I mean, I think you hit it on the nose. I asked our loan officers to really be honest and track their time, and it's unbelievable the amount of wasted time. You go to take a look on Facebook, and rather than being 2 minutes on Facebook, you're 20 minutes on Facebook, and
Right.
you have a couple files in process that you've already originated. You're looking at them a little bit, you're talking to the processor a little bit, you're going back and looking at your file, and you know, pretty soon it's time for lunch. And
Right.
then you go to lunch and you get back from lunch, and well, now you're thinking about going home, and you know, did you prospect today?
Right.
Did you call and thank customers today? Did you do the things necessary to grow a business? And we found that a very big percentage of our loan officers were wasting far too much time. I mean, their hourly rate went up when
Yeah.
when they found out they only worked 4 hours a day. Uh, they realized, wow, I'm making a lot of money for working 4 hours a day.
But what's the value behind that is, you know, and that this is kind of rhetorical, but what's the value behind it? You know, yeah, I work 4 hours a day, but you have 24 hours in a day. And
Right.
the fact is, and here's what I had a production partner that asked me this question one time when business started slowing down a couple of years ago. And he's like, what are we going to do? Business is slowing down. Purchases are doing this. And I said, we're going to eat other people's food. You know, whatever the other people aren't willing to go out there and do and hunt for, we're going to go capture that. And then once we capture that, more than likely, we're going to capture the food they are eating, simply because we're providing a higher service level to that client, to that real estate partner. You know, we're not going to starve. I use the term, and I learned this from my buddy Drew White, and that's alpha predators, or apex predators. I'm sorry. Apex predators are people that they're going to go out and they're going to get it regardless. You know, your lions and tigers, those are apex predators that nobody else is going to stop them from achieving their goal, no matter what they have to go through in order to achieve it.
So what percentage of loan originators do you, I mean, I know you're not sure, but what would you guess are apex predators?
I would say probably about 20%.
Yeah.
And that's the rule of average, you know, 80% of, or 20% of people do 80% of the work, or whatever it is, that are people that are willing to go out there and get after it. And the thing is bear in mind that 20% is a rotating number. You have some people that were top that decided, hey, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. I'm going to relax a little bit, and they get out of that 20%. So I say that because there's a belief that the top producers are up here, and you can't get into that little category of top producers. The only thing you can do is continue to raise your own bar, you know, and as you raise your own bar and strive for your own goals, then you'll see the success that you become satisfied with. You know, I still have the giant Post-it notes. Every month I stick one up on my wall, and every month I write down every transaction, every client I close, every whatever it may be, every single one. And I have one of those thermometer meters on the side, and I keep track. And I'm never satisfied. And I'm not never satisfied because I don't hit great numbers. I'm just never satisfied because I know that maybe last week I spent 5 hours messing around, you know, or maybe last week I spent 10 hours not working. And so I missed opportunities in those cases. But to answer your question, about 20% is what I would consider apex predators.
Wow. What's cool is you're completely aware of the fact that maybe you're wasting some time, and that's half the battle. Most people don't even know that they're wasting time. At least you're watching it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we've all got the same product. Our prices vary a little bit. You know, there's brokers, there's bankers, there's banks. I mean, we're all selling, you know, a lot of the same stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you think it takes to transition through this market? So you've been through 2008, and that was a bloodbath that we lost a lot of the industry then, and you're still here. So you definitely have the experience of navigating through something like that. What do you think it's going to take?
It's going to take persistence. It's going to take perseverance. I mean, you really got to tuck your head down and just continue to go, and stop listening to the media. Stop listening to, you know, default ratios and forbearance, and be an educator. You know, go out there and educate the people that are on your Facebook right now that you've closed loans in the past. Tell them the difference between a forbearance and a deferment. Be top of mind. You need to be a top of mind of as many people as possible right now. You need to communicate with as many people as possible right now. You need to worry about the well-being of others. You know, when you have a genuine concern for the well-being of other people, that shines through, and people become the voice for you. You know, I have a title guy that he's closed a lot of deals for me. And he's like, Alex, he's like, I don't understand how you have so many best friends. He's like, everybody I close for you has nothing but great things to say about you. And I said, well, Greg, the thing is I treat everybody equal and everybody like a human being. You know, interest rate, we know what that is, but tell me, is little Billy still playing soccer? You know, get involved in your community, get out there and do things, do charitable things. There was another loan officer and we were talking about buying a semi truck full of food to donate to people. You know, you don't have to buy a semi truck full of food. Go buy a gift card or whatever it is. You know, if you've got a way to help people in your community will see that. And that's how I become a dominant person within the city I live in, because I'm always out there doing something, you know? So everything you're doing now to get those easy deals, you have to double down. And that doesn't mean double the work. That just means you have to be more laser focused on getting it done.
Yeah. And this is hard for me to articulate, but you do this naturally. I mean, it's a genuine care about the customer experience and what's going on in their life. And you know, I think too many of us systematize that. Okay, it's
Right.
time for a birthday card, or it's time to send a thank you for the transaction card. And customers, although they might appreciate that thank you card, it's
Hmm.
just part of the system where when you're involved in the community, it shows through the whole process. When you're when you're asking about their families, it's genuinely caring about them.
Yeah.
You're just providing a way to get them in a house, or save them money on a refinance. And my message to loan officers constantly is really dig deep inside your heart and find, why are you doing this? Why this business? You could go make money doing other stuff.
Right.
Why the mortgage business? And realize how much you have the potential to impact somebody's life. And if you genuinely care about
Hmm.
the customer experience, and then you keep that work ethic that you've been talking about, I think that's how you make it through. And then finally, it's truly, it's so easy to start talking about the companies that go out of business, or the loan officer that failed,
Right.
or these natural disasters, these school shootings. You get
Hmm.
caught up in all that, and you're not managing your business, and it's poisoning. You start feeling like the whole world's crumbling. I remember in 2008.
Yeah.
Um, that was the conversation. We all knew people that were losing their homes and
Yep.
lost their money, and it felt like, boy, this is going to be horrible for a long, long time. And look, we're here, going through it again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we watch the implodometer and everything else. Human nature wants to see failure in other people. That's why we get enticed by like the implodometer or NASCAR wrecks, or the oops videos or whatever it is. That's why we enjoy watching those. But the one thing I do want to say is remain positive. Like, if we sit and point fingers at the people that are failing, what happens when we fail? We don't want people pointing fingers at us. So remain positive. Don't focus on the negativity. Don't focus on the failures of others. And most of all, if you have the heart where you're looking for the failures of others, you're doing this for the wrong reasons.
Right. And I think it'll end up getting you.
Oh yeah.
I think you just got the wrong energy around you. So we're going, we're in a market right now. Where do you think we're headed?
I think we're headed towards some stricter guidelines, which I'm okay with. I think we're headed towards, maybe a small step back and a reanalyzation from a consumer standpoint. You have a lot of people that are asking right now, is now a good time to buy?
Yeah.
Of course it is, because if not, what are you going to do? You can rent, or are you going to rent at that $2,000 a month loft that's 800 square foot that you live in? Or would you rather buy a house? I think the market's going to be directed based on fear. And I think we're going to have a lot of recovery to do. A lot of people, I've lost a lot of deals to people who have lost their job. Lost over $1 million last week of people who have lost their job at the last moment. But it's okay. Eventually they'll get their job back. And so you need to stay in front of those people. This will recover. It will get better. Technology, I think the greatest thing about this whole thing, because you try to find positivity in every negative aspect or negative event. Technology is going to show us a whole new way to communicate. Here we are on Zoom. Now, people that had no idea what Zoom meant or what it was, and take, for example, all the people that bought the wrong Zoom stock when the stocks were roaring. That's a prime example. People didn't know what Zoom was. But we have different ways to communicate with clients and with realtors and host happy hours and do those things. So we need to embrace the technology and get into the ever-changing world that we're headed in. I think things will be great. Give it 9, 12 months, and we'll look back and be like, hey, remember that time that we were all locked up in our houses for a month? Here we are laughing about that. So
yeah, I agree. I think I mean, we're going to have very good interest rates for quite some time, so there's going to be opportunities for us in the lending industry
yes.
to help people, whether it's consolidate debt or grab some of their equity.
Mm-hmm.
The question I've got is, with unemployment so high, um, what will happen short term to the purchase market? Like you, my advice is always buy,
Yeah.
because when they drop, they're going to come 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate has come back.
Yes.
100% of the time, the stock market has come back. So yeah,
Yep.
it may lose its value, but unless you're having to sell right now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And my advice is to buy too. But I just in 2008, we knew what was happening to real estate prices
Hmm.
because, the types of loans that we were doing. I,
Right.
I don't think there's, a plethora of bad loans out there. So I don't think we're going to have that problem. We're just going to have people that don't have jobs and might not be able to afford you know, their mortgage payments.
Right.
That's the unknown.
But we also have a lot of equity. So if we're in
Yeah,
a position where we have some equity and maybe that person that's struggling can sell their home, and then it turns into kind of and it's been this way, but it turns in more of a seller's market that they're just offloading homes because the economy every year prior to 2008, every recession has driven interest rates down and home values up, so that to me says, hey, we're hitting this little dip in the road, but things will adapt. You have the Fed over here. They're like, how many billions of dollars do you need towards mortgage-backed securities? Don't worry about it. We've got a printer back here and it's going full speed. I think we'll see a bounce back, and for those of you that are listening that are not in the mortgage sector, if you get into trouble with your mortgage, bear in mind, you probably have a lot of equity sitting there. You may want to consider your options when it comes to that.
yeah. You actually put out a post a couple of weeks ago
Hmm.
about perhaps even
Liquidating.
taking a higher interest rate
Yeah.
to pay off even a higher interest rate of debt. And it was interesting because I hadn't thought of that. And when you put it, I think I asked you if it was okay if I shared it,
Yeah.
and I got tons of response from it
Yep.
because that's just a great way to think. You've got a ton of equity that you're not using,
Yeah.
yet you've got all this debt, and maybe you're fearful that your job's going to go away in the next couple of months. So
Right.
great job with that. By the way, are you a veteran?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I was just kind of curious because it was bad of me that I didn't address that right up front.
No worries. I know the big American flag behind me, but this is my studio where I do a lot of recording, and I'm sure you're well aware of this. I'm very patriotic. I grew up in a household where my grandpa was in the Navy. Both my brothers, one is still active duty Marine. The other one is a Marine, but he's 100% disabled. So it's a patriotic thing. We're Americans. Like, we owe everything we do. The fact that you and I can sit here and have a conversation without being censored, we owe that to the people that have sacrificed to serve this country,
100%.
to protect it. So, just a patriot.
Yeah, 100%. And now it's the doctors and nurses that
Absolutely.
need to be included in that as well. It's really cool to see. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of really good things from this as well. I mean, it's certainly sad to see the numbers of people that are sick or have died, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing people appear to be a little more compassionate and kind and empathetic,
Right.
and that's good to see. And I'm hopeful that going through a tragedy like this, that we do have a better, world in front of us.
Yeah.
Um, well, Alex, I really, really appreciate your time today. I'd love to even have you back, another time, because I mean, you've got just a great perspective on life and this business, and it's great to see you do so well. And it's great to see young guys take over the leadership of this industry because you guys are just have a great perspective. For people that want to get a hold of you or want to see your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
hear your podcast, how do they go about finding you?
So, great question. Super easy. Go to ajnashville.com. On there, there's contact links. You can text, call, email, set an appointment, listen to my podcast, go to my webpage. You can do everything from there. And that was kind of built by design, make it nice and easy. Once again, it's ajnashville.com.
Love it. Well, I recommend everybody, follow Alex. He's got a lot of, really great things to say. And Alex, thank you so much for your time today. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate being on.
if I could ever be of any help to you, let me know.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Yes, sir.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.